Hello, everyone. We are live today. This is our second event this year in the lunch format. Really great to see a very big turnout. Today, we are going to have a very sharp, very packed meeting. Let me start with our traditional housekeeping. Can you all see my screen, guys?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Can you see the pillars of the meetup? No, I don't.
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, let me. It's here. Okay. Okay, guys. Hopefully you can see. So traditionally, we have a three key pillars at our meetup. The first one is we are open. Here we have open discussions, open problems. It's not a marketing event, it's an event to share. So the second one is our willingness to share with everyone. It's an event by practitioners and to practitioners, so we can all learn together. Conversational AI space is relatively new to most of the people, and the best way for us to learn is to basically talk to each other and learn from each other. And I would like to acknowledge our amazing team of organizers for the ideas they bring, the support they bring. I want to thank EPAM and Cognigy to support our initiative, the meetup, and also to our giveaway sponsors today. This is the first time we will be having some giveaway at the end of our discussion today. And I want to thank every member of our group to invest your time here. Your time is the most valuable asset for us. And without any further ado, I want to introduce you to our hosts today. Today we are having two hosts. Bora is our own person from the Meetup group, and we will have Kirili, who will host our event today. So Kirili is our award-winning creative director who worked for the global companies like National Geographic Channel, Nickelodeon, and more recently at Soul Machines, where she worked on the conversational experience for the state-of-the-art digital people. And she created the Writer's Room, an online course in conversation design. I think the conversation design is the very important topic in my line of work. I've experienced a lot of the things related to this one, and it's very complex actually topic to share, and I really would love to hear from you guys. So Kiri, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, welcome everybody from around the world. This is very exciting to see all these people coming in and joining us. So welcome, welcome. I'm Kirili Denny, and I'm going to be your host for today. It's going to be a fast-paced, fantastically interesting event. So welcome to Careers in Conversational AI. So just a quick overview, starting or indeed changing a career in AI, in conversational AI, can be rather daunting. Since it's just constantly changing and developing, it's difficult sometimes to get a handle on what's going on, what are the roles around out there. So now's your chance to learn more about the industry by talking directly to our incredible lineup of speakers from around the world. So I'm just going to share my screen, just going to give you a quick overview of the agenda. We're going to mention a few things. I've just seen the poll coming in, so I'm just going to mention that now before I share the screen. But we've got 13% are entering the job market, 35% are changing career paths, 23% have 1 to 3 years of experience, 25%, well done you guys, 4 to 10 years of experience, and a 4% of a shock over a decade already. So that's very interesting. So let me just share my screen, and we'll just have a quick look at the agenda for today. Okay. So What we're going to do is in 5 minutes, very, very quickly, I'm going to be talking to each of our wonderful experts. So I'm interviewing 6 global experts covering 6 different areas of conversational AI. You'll then get a chance to talk to an expert of your choice in one of 3 of our breakout rooms. So you pick your area of interest, whether it's management, design, or technology, and go and talk to one of our experts. We're putting 2 experts in each of those rooms. So that's going to be really exciting. But first of all, I will be talking to each of those experts first of all. So you can see all the experts there. We've got head of conversation AI, product manager, conversation designer, content writer, NLU trainer, and conversation AI software developer. So we're covering quite a lot of that area. And in the breakout rooms, there's going to be 10 minutes. So get ready with your questions and you'll get to join each of those. We're also doing giveaways, okay? So this is the exciting bit. I'm sure a lot of you are itching to know about the Conversation Design Institute course. Names are going to be drawn from attendees list. So what happens is you go to the breakout room, then you come back and join us. You have to be in the main room. I'm going to be in the main room all the time. So if you want to have a chat with me, I'll be there, willing and waiting. You'll need to have a unique name in Zoom. So if it's just John, you want to maybe put your surname in. So there's that. It's very important, and you need to stay in the Zoom session. So the winner then gets their email from sent to Bora. We've also got a discount code for the UX Content Collective course, and that's going to be posted in the chat window. If you want to change your name in Zoom, it's very, very simple. There's a quick screen grab, and I'm sure you can message one of our great guys. Pavel will be able to quickly tell you if you get a bit stuck, but hopefully everything is clear. So without further ado, I'm going to actually jump into our very first interview because I'm watching the time. The clock is racing away from us, and there's so much information to get through. So now we've covered that opening, we're going to start on our career path interviews with the management side and the role of head of conversational AI. You may have often heard of it, often called head of digital assistant, product owner, chatbot, virtual assistant. But with us today, we have Bora Weiman, who's head of conversational AI. Now, Bora is well known by many as one of the organizers of this great event and of numerous others, and his many posts on LinkedIn. He's worked on most sides in this space, from system integrator, user, to the vendor side, and is very passionate about conversational AI. Hi, Bora, great to have you here. So without further ado, let's jump in with the very first question. So what are you responsible for in your role, and what was your career path to get into that position?
Yeah, fair enough. So in my current role, actually, I'm like a mixture of a head of conversation AI, but if I look at my role where Bosch, where that was my responsibility, was back then actually called product manager for chatbots. And my responsibility was pretty much everything from the business case, technology selection, the operation, implementation of teams, the rollout, the management, all those kind of things are involved. So really people, process, technology, and strategy across it all, like all those kind of things are your responsibility. You're the person whose head is on the line to make it happen and get everybody into it. And from a career path perspective, I started with, I had done project management, business analyst, solution architect, a whole bunch of different roles. I started to move into product management and had also done some activities of conversation AI. And then this role popped up as a product manager for chatbot, which was for me kind of the ideal thing. It was product management, which I wanted to do, and conversation AI. So it finally nicely joined together. So also done mixed things in that in my background. So
that's fantastic. And I think that's very promising for a lot of people out there who have had that mixed background. So there is that route in for you guys. So think about that. And what do you find most rewarding about your role?
For me, it's you create a vision, then you invite and inspire people to really join around that part. And then you execute on, you see how it works and create wonderful things. And as I asked a few other people on LinkedIn as well in that role, they often said, well, it's a really hot new area. It's something really great. You can create really great customer experience. And if you like UX and human computer interface and all the other kind of stuff, CX, then it's a really awesome space, an awesome activity, awesome role to do.
Fantastic. I love that comment, hot new area. And I think that's something that everybody should latch onto, because it's just changing and it's expanding and there's all these wonderful opportunities out there. So really think about that, guys. And what are the biggest challenges for you, Bora?
Oh, the biggest challenges, they're always kind of the same when you do product manager roles, especially internal. It's politics, negotiations, budget and finding budgets. Otherwise, also, as many other commented, keeping on time with your activities, because there's a gazillion activities, which ones to prioritize, not to get lost in those kind of things. So those are the classic kind of challenges. One fun story that I had in one role that I had nearly everything lined up, and suddenly the whole budget that I had disappeared on me, like really from one day to the other. And running around like a maniac and somehow finding new budget. So those are kind of really the challenges. Can be fun, can be stressful, all those things together.
Yeah, I love your honesty there. I think we've all had those heart-flipping stomach moments, so yeah, it makes you feel good that you can still continue and get up there into the, you know, the leadership team, and despite these little hiccups along the way. That's fantastic, Bora. I'm going to jump on because I'm noticing our time is slipping and I don't want to lose off our other people. So we're going to come back to Bora later on. He's going to be doing a lot of great stuff in terms of the giveaways and the job boards. So you get to chat to him later as well in the breakout room. So thank you, Bora. That's awesome. Okay, so next up is Andrew Stack, Head of Product at Ingenious.ai, conversational AI startup at helping enterprise scale clients easily and simply by delivering better automated experiences. I love the note he's put here. As such, he is an ex-haver of free time, stress-free days and low blood pressure. So Andrew, welcome.
Thank you. Bora told me that was the worst introduction he'd ever heard, but I actually think it's probably the most apt for a product manager that goes around. Well, I can jump straight in.
Yeah, so let's, I mean, we're asking similar questions, so I'm sure you're sort of poised with your answers. But again, what's your role responsibilities and what was your career path to get you to this position?
This will be a bit similar to Bora's. I mean, I often summarize it as PM's a master of everything and absolutely master of nothing at the same time. You have all the responsibility, you get none of the glory at the end of the day. In mine, I've worked with enterprise side. I'm now working at a startup, so it's quite a different beast. But I sit there between founders, our team, our clients, and similar Bora. I shape a vision that I work out through how the product and the roadmap's going to achieve that, and the strategies that we need to do to manage that, and ultimately to deliver the best benefit we can in what is a very product-led growth startup. I spend a lot of the time, not only thinking the longer term rainbows and unicorns and all the awesome stuff we can potentially do, but down to the weeds of day to day, like talking to the team in stand-ups, like, where is this at? Why haven't we got this done? What's going on? This is good, that's bad. Give me advice, help us find a way through. These are the sort of just the crunching parts day to day that happen. And it's kind of nice, like you're not removed from it in terms of, where you need to be in the future, but you're also got to front up day to day and be the coach, the mentor, the best supporter, the shoulder to cry on in the team, and help everybody achieve, because it is a team sport. And as much as you enjoy being at the front, you don't win unless you've got a great team. And that's something, advice for anyone that's wanting to go into that sort of product management space. It's the only way. How did I get here? 25 years ago, I started as a graphic designer. I moved into marketing manager and brand manager in surf industry. I then flipped and went into UX design in e-commerce and worked my way through to head of UX at a number of major retailers in Australia. I've been a director in a consultancy for a while. I then flipped across into the conversation space at a major bank, managing the sort of conversation team and design efforts around that, and worked across into the strategy area of that team, and then led that for a couple of years, and then was in a senior product manager role for a period before leaving. We did pretty well. We won a few awards. It was good fun. It was fast paced in many respects. It was also super slow in other respects. But now, as I mentioned before, I've flipped over to vendor side. I love this technology, I love this space. I love it. It's the next phase of human-computer interaction that was mentioned before. So I just want to be closer to it. And I dropped a note that I had to put is that my mum has been giving me a lot of I told you so. She was an English teacher way back in the day. And all through those younger years, she was like, Andrew, pay more attention. Andrew, pay more attention.
Fabulous. I love this idea, your career path. Again, it's that sort of meandering, flipping from one thing to the other. And I think, you know, all these skills that you take from one job, you can easily move them into the next one and sort of like create that lovely team culture that you're talking about, which is so vital in the startup environment for sure. What do you find most rewarding about your role?
Again, Laura's probably stolen my thunder a bit here, but it is like that, seeing these all to come together. Like, I like that what we're seeing with this space is it's able to exceed a lot of the preconceived ideas around human interactions across technology and how we do it. When I was working in the strategy role, I was able to set a different vision for a bank than what they thought. I was able to rally a large amount of people behind it. We had more GMs on the project than we had people on the project, which was good and bad, as I'm sure Dennis knows. He has to live with that now. Story for another time. But it really did rally people because they could see the benefit. They could see what this could do more than other things could do. They could see that it was easier, faster, simpler for customers. It was generating much greater engagement, much greater, how do you say CSAT and all those sort of things, but just the general kind of tone that you would get back from anyone using this was positive. Sure, there's a few negatives, you know, hey, it didn't answer my question this time, etc. But overall, the joined story across the spectrum of customer service with this, you know, automation at heart was really positive, and people gel to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very exciting digital era that we're currently right in the midst of. And what are the biggest challenges?
So I prepared for this one. I'll focus it on the in a startup, and I'd have the normal project manager sort of challenges around vision versus capacity to achieve, and the trade-off decisions that you have to make. And then we 10x that because we're a completely bootstrapped startup. We don't have a big bucket of money sitting off to the side. We've just made this work because it works. It's crazy challenging. It leads to plenty of interesting, heated conversations amongst the team, but you know, that's part of the game. We get it. We get in. We have strong opinions. They're loosely held. We get it done, and we keep moving. That's probably the biggest part, I could say.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. It's great to get insights into startups as well, because there's so many and there's a lot of challenges just within that environment. So thank you. Fabulous. So moving on to the design world, I'd like to welcome our very own Women in Voice ambassador and AI specialist, Catherine Sadler. She has an incredible background in language tech, conversation design and UX design, having worked in tech for, dare I say it, Catherine, 20 years, with 15 years in voice technology, which has included managing phonetic lexicon projects for AI training data and designing for IVRs, smart speakers, SaaS, web and mobile apps. So Catherine, without further ado, Catherine, can you tell me what you're responsible for in your role and what career path? We've got a little sense of that, but do explain more about how you got there.
So so I'm also currently in a startup, so you sort of wear lots of hats. I'm currently sort of looking after conversation design and most of the project management of our enterprise projects, whilst also sort of helping out the business development team and assisting the dev team. So yeah, day-to-day sort of research, client communications, project management, designing flows, all that sort of thing. And I kind of was trying to think how I got into the field. It really was accidentally, like it was a long time ago, but partly because I studied languages and linguistics at university. When I came to Australia, I got a foot in the door with Appen, who were literally just starting out. They're huge now. And I was managing their phonetic dictionary projects for several years, back sort of 20 years ago, I started there. And from there, I just sort of segued into a VUI design role, as it used to be called, with Dimension Data. And my first project there was a speech IVR project for Optus, the big Australian telecommunications company. And that was back in 2005. So I was at DD for about 9 years, and then sort of switched out and swapped to UX design because the voice industry was pretty small in Australia and went pretty quiet. Did a few years of UX design and then moved back into voice user interface design a few years ago with Nova FM and now with TalkVia.
Fantastic. Again, a really interesting pathway and a lot of skill sets. The linguistic side is fascinating, and for myself, having worked in a big startup, Soul Machines, there's a lot of linguistics people involved in conversation design, which is fabulous. So it just shows the doors open to many different skill sets. What do you find most rewarding about your role?
I really enjoy just the mix of skill sets that the role demands. You've got to be pretty comfortable with tech, but you're working with language. You've got to have that user focus. You're combining the logic of mapping out flows with the more creative side of the design of the prompts. So it's just a real mix. And it's always just exciting to design something and then sort of see it get out there in the wild and go, wow, that was mine.
Absolutely. That's such a nice feeling, isn't it? And that, like you say, that crossroads of creativity with technology and on many different areas is really exciting. And what would you say are the biggest challenges currently for you?
I think probably being a design, like obviously I'm in a smaller startup, but generally conversation design is seen to be relatively new globally. So being a design team of one, which yes, that's partly because I'm in a startup, but I think a lot of, I saw a webinar with Greg Bennett from Salesforce last week, and for most of the last few years at Salesforce, he was the sole conversation designer. So when you're that one person sort of wearing many hats and you don't really have people to bounce stuff off, that can be really hard, especially when it's like, right, we need to design this, there you go. And you're sort of trying to pull all the pieces together. I think that's probably the hardest thing. And also for me personally, I have chronic imposter syndrome. So that sort of, that voice in my head while I'm trying to do these things is super shouty sometimes.
I love your honesty. I think we've all been there. I certainly have. I mean, it's a challenging space, yeah. And the thing is, everybody's learning. This is new, it's exciting, everybody's learning. I think that's something we need to remember. You know, they're brilliant experts, but everybody is still learning. It would be boring if we weren't. So thank you, Catherine, that's amazing. And then I'm now delighted to introduce Hilary Black, who you can quiz about being a content writer. Now, she brings a wealth of experience to the AI and conversation design community with 12 years in digital marketing for brands like Vine and Beats by Dre, and as a contributor to Amazon publications, speaker and content, who's collaborated with Micro, VoiceFlow, UX Professional Association, and Women in Voice. She's also been instrumental in creating a UX writing and design online course that Bora will talk about a little bit later on in our session and post a discount code in the Zoom chat window. So look out for that. Okay, Hilary, welcome. It's lovely to have you here. So
hi, it's great to be here.
Fabulous. And so, I mean, we're sort of covering the same areas, but I'm sure everybody is excited because your background is quite different in many ways. So can you tell us what you're responsible for and how you got there?
Yeah, well, like a few of the other people here, I work at a startup as well. So my roles and responsibilities could probably take up this entire rest of the session. But as it relates to content writing, the primary of my role is more on, I think, the marketing side. So working for, a conversational AI startup, I'm responsible for communicating what exactly that means to our potential customers, and then also within the market in general, educating people about conversation design, educating people about SMS, which is what our product is, And so I do all of that sort of, you know, marketing, copywriting, and then I also do all of the conversation design. So I'm, you know, our only conversation designer, but I'm more on the writing side than on the UX side, or on sort of the product and, you know, information architecture side. I'm more saying, here's what I want this to say and do, but I'm not, you know, making wireframes. I'm not doing any of the product focused work. I'm more doing the writing. And that is really how I got into the field. So as you said, you know, my background is in digital marketing and social media, which I am surprised that I don't really hear anyone have this background when I meet people. And I was a social media manager, a content writer, content creator from 2009 until 2016. And then I lost my job when Vine, the app, shut down, because that's where I was working at the time. So I decided to go out on my own and start freelancing and just, you know, building social media brands and building like profiles for startups and for entrepreneurs. And one of my clients, which it was a tech startup and like a tech agency, which is who I actually work with now, they wanted to create a messenger chatbot in 2016 when they very first were coming out. And for someone like me, I was sort of like, hey, you know, I can write messages for a Facebook page. There's not really any difference between having a conversation with someone as a brand and having a conversation with someone as an automated brand. So I sort of took everything I knew from building brands and all of these digital personas and just made it automated, and thought of it that way. And then from there, you know, I just kept doing it and doing it. And so I kind of full-time switched into being more in the conversational AI space. I still do some social media work and freelance work on the side. And then I also do, you know, all of the marketing in general for my startups. So I am very busy doing all of that, but, you know, I really, really enjoy it. And so I love being able to just create content all the time.
Fantastic. I think your background, it was interesting that you pointed out about social media and so on. And I really believe intrinsically that conversation design needs to be able to really relate to the people that it's actually engaging with. And so it's not sort of like it needs to have that lovely chat, that sort of access point, which breaks down that digital barrier. So I think that that's really fascinating, and hopefully we'll get more people from that area getting involved in conversation design. So what do you find most rewarding about your role?
The most rewarding thing I think about specifically my role, I would just say being in a startup that is, you know, a product-led company, we get to do a lot of things. I get to work on a lot of things, and I get to, you know, experiment a lot, create a lot of different experiences, do a lot of testing, and just see what works. So it is very valuable to sort of just say, today we want to do this and we're going to do this. And then we can move very quickly and we can launch new features and things like that very quickly. Whereas at bigger companies, you can't do that, at least not as often. So it's definitely nice to see the impact of your work almost instantly.
Yeah, I love that, you know, that ability to experiment. I think that is where we're going to really push the boundaries, and that's where where things are going to really progress and get excited about. So I think that's fantastic. What are the biggest challenges that you are facing?
Probably sort of the same things. I think being in a startup, you have to do a lot of things. And, you know, as I sort of said, I have a lot of different responsibilities, and you can't do all the things all the time as much as we want to. So it can be frustrating to want to work on these projects, especially things that are more, you know, just being active in the community or contributing things to the overall growth of the community, because you have to work on these other things that might not be as exciting as, you know, the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's always a hard balance. You want to push more to the exciting bit, but you know you have to do some of those trickier things to really cement something and build a foundation. So yeah, I love your honesty there. Really lovely. Well, great to have you here, Hilary. And so finally, let's not forget those tech experts. Right, so I'm pleased to welcome Aubrey Amstutz as our NLU AI trainer. She is an analytical linguist, so we're back into that world again, which is fabulous. working on a project with Microsoft's Responsible AI group to develop better methods for testing language models for fairness risks. Fascinating. She's got a BA in Literature and Creative Writing from the University of California and has spent time teaching English in France and completing a master's in Linguistics and Cognitive Studies in Italy. Va bene. Okay, so let's have a chat with Aubrey. Lovely to have you here. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Yep. So what are your responsibilities for your role and what was your career path into it?
Yeah, so I'll start with my career path. It was also, very unexpected, lots of unexpected turns along the way. So I started out studying literature and creative writing. And I also worked in IT doing like tech support as a student worker. And so that was my first kind of experience thinking about, the user kind of service relationship and things like that. And then I went and taught English in France. And then I came back and started working in tech again at my university. And I did that for a few years and then decided to get my master's in linguistics. So yeah, now I am able to kind of combine that expertise in both like linguistics that I got directly from the master's with all of this kind of random experience that I had working with different products in tech. And yeah, so now I'm working on a project at Microsoft, as you said. Oh, and then what are my responsibilities? Okay, so essentially my kind of area of expertise is making sure that when we create synthetic data to test models, it is as representative as possible of real life language.
Wow, fascinating. And I think you, again, this amazing crossroads of interconnection of linguistics and tech. And it's just, to me, this is so exciting to hear about. And the ethics that you're exploring, ethical notions of how to approach AI is really, really vital. I think something that we need to always remember. And what do you find most rewarding about your role?
Well, you just gave me a really great segue because I think the kind of mission, right, it's something that I'm very new to. I just, got into it. And as soon as I started learning about it, I just felt that it was, very urgent to just have these conversations. And I'm basically just really excited to help kind of provide some strategies on how to address, some of these harms that unmitigated AI-based language services might be causing to users, and especially when they're replicating any kind of like systematic inequalities, we definitely should be thinking about that early in the design phase as well as again in the testing phase.
I couldn't agree more. If we face it now at the early day, we're not going to be fighting a nightmare ever growing later on. So I applaud you for really taking that and running with it. And what are the biggest challenges that you see?
Yeah, so I would say my first thought with this is, on the day-to-day, for me, it's the job that a lot of linguists face, which is just how to represent language, how to characterize certain language patterns when I'm not a native speaker of maybe that variety of English or, that dialect. And so I'm always trying to be ethical in that respect as well, and try to do my job and represent people accurately and how they, their subjective views of language, but it's just always subjective, and that's the thing. So there's not always such a great, definitive answer to even find on, is something harmful? What constitutes hate speech? That is so subjective for different groups. So I would say that's the biggest challenge on the day-to-day for me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a lot of discussions with your team, your colleagues around, positive, negative, what should we really tackle at this point? I mean, I bet lots of things.
Priorities are hard too. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's lovely to have you here. And I think people will enjoy talking to you. You bring a different perspective on it, which is fabulous. So everyone, though you've now met all of our wonderful, 6 of our wonderful experts. So we're actually going to...
Sorry?
Oh gosh,
as well.
You're right. Oh my gosh, how sorry. Gosh, sorry, Igel. I'm so...
No worries.
Okay, last but very not least, okay, is Igel Zainulina, another Women in Voice ambassador and virtual agents, voice assistants developer for Alexa and Google Home. She is a talented independent VA developer with over 10 years of software engineering expertise with Java and Enterprise. She not only brings great insights into how to engage voice assistants in our daily lives, but having lived and worked around the globe, like some of you as well, she brings diversity and multicultural experience to this space. So thanks for prompting me, Claire. I'd hate to have just jumped away and not talked to you. I talked to you a lot and I think you're absolutely marvelous. So I'm really pleased that you're here. So, Igor, can you tell us what are your responsibilities for your role and what was your career path into it?
So I'm an independent freelance developer for, and I specialize in NLP voice bots, making them for mainly Alexa speakers and Google Home speakers. And yeah, so I build them end to end. My career path into it was really unplanned, unexpected. So what happened is, as you mentioned, I worked in large enterprise projects doing Java for nearly 10 years. And that involved, lots of sitting in office, like literally sitting. And what happened is eventually I hurt my back from all of that sitting. And I had to have back surgery, and the recovery period after that was crucial. So I decided to basically quit the office work for all these big banks and mobile companies. So basically, I got lots of free time. And at that time as well, I bought my first Alexa speaker. So I thought, oh, wow, it's so fun. It's so cool. Can I actually do some programming for it? And yeah, that's how it started. And it's been eventually 6 years now. And my clients are mostly medium and small businesses. And I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love that. And a very open journey that you've had to go through, being very open about that. I would really appreciate you being, sharing that with everybody. And it just sort of shows that, overcoming hardship has actually taken you into an interesting direction, which is you're obviously doing superbly well at, which I think is fabulous. What would you find most rewarding with your role?
I think I'm really enjoying the fact this rather small scope of those voice bots, like as applications, versus as I used to work for, in a big team, enterprise projects in multiple teams, part of one team that's, working on one piece of big software, and you really hardly see a big picture. So I really enjoy the fact that, I build them end to end from scratch till publishing, and, I can get a direct feedback from the customers and see how they are, they're using them, and it's great.
Yeah, that immediacy, that sort of energy is really nice. I think that's a lovely thing to point out. And what are the biggest challenges?
Well, since I'm highly dependent on the cloud, like the Amazon cloud and Google Cloud, I think it's quite challenging when they, frequently change the APIs and SDKs, and you need to relearn how to do the same thing from, in a different way over and over again. And sometimes it can be challenging as well to explain the customers why something that they would like to do cannot be done, really, because it's the limitation of the platform, or because they didn't, improve it yet to that point, that, sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand that well. I think all of us have been in that world where people have been watching too much of the sci-fi world and think everything is just like instant and we can do it all, but we're still building things, and it's not like we're not quite in that sci-fi world just
it's
yet.
Not magic.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. Thank you. That's really lovely to have you here, and I'm glad thanks for the prompt again, Catherine. So now we have covered all 6 of our marvelous experts, and I just wanted to bring everybody, now we're going to jump into our breakout rooms. So this is your chance to talk to them directly. Bora's set up the breakout rooms. We're dividing them into 3. There's going to be the manage breakout room with Bora and Andrew, the design breakout room with Hilary and Catherine, and the tech with Aubrey and Igor. Now, all you need to do is go down to the bottom of your screen. You will see breakout rooms. You click on a breakout room and you join the room you choose. When you're finished, you'll be directed back into the main room. I'm going to be sitting here quietly, sort of like humming to myself. So don't miss out on the career info and the giveaways. You need to come back in. So pop back anytime, and you've got about 10 minutes to have those questions ready.
I will also close the rooms at the end, so people should automatically come into the main room, so you'll be all right.
Okay.
Cool.
Right.
Make sure you join yourself. I will be joining now too in the manage room.
And I'll pause recording for now, and then we'll recommence once everybody joined. Wait a second. Okay.
This meeting
back,
is
guys.
being recorded.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I think as we've had a huge amount of people jumping into the design room. So I hope you all had a great time and you managed to voice your your questions. I'm going to hand over to Bora now, who's going to take you on a quick look at career information and sort the grand prize giveaway. So over to you, Bora.
Thank you, thank you. So I'll do quickly on the giveaways so that everybody knows it. There's 2 things. So we've got discount code that from Hilary will be sharing in a second as well in the chat. But from the Conversation Design Institute course, for all attendees except the org team and women and voice kind of org team in there, that have joined back. So everybody who's now in the room, Dennis will quickly go through it. We draw based on the attendee list. So please make sure that you've got a unique name in there, otherwise we can't identify you. And the winner needs to quickly stay in a Zoom session and just ping me, give me the email address, because I need to give that to the CDI so they can set you up. And discount codes, discount code for the UX Content Collective course. I'll post it in a second. I'll show that also in a second. That's the awesome course by Hilary, and she was so great to give us a 50% discount for all attendees. Please don't share that outside of this event. This is really for this for this event. Quickly, so the CDI course, if you don't know about it, it's a whole bundle of courses: conversation design, copywriting, AI training. You've got, I think, 1 certificate included in that. It's worth $1,745 US. It's a really great one to have in there, and I'll really suggest you to explore it. Hilary's course, I called it Hilary's course because she's directly in the session. It's also a great course around chatbot content writing and design. I think it's a slightly bit short. It's 10 to 20 than maybe the CDI, but it's actually quite long overall. The 20 hour course focused on strategy, persona, and content design. And I will flick the details into the chat in a second. And now to educate yourself. So what are the kind of courses to do that you really should look in that space? And this is really a short list. You can find a whole bunch of lists out there, other courses, Udemy and everybody else. LinkedIn has definitely checked for course, but some of the big ones they're really good. Conversation Design Institute is one that is quite popular. Obviously, you've got the Hilary's course. UX Content Collective is a very interesting one to look at. Digital Assistant Academy is also a bigger one in that space. Voice Tech Global, they just closed. They just locked down, but some of the recordings are still available. So I'll look if there's any chat question right now. And Soul Machine, so currently the course that she provided as well, has a great course as well, and it looked really good, and has got quite some testing and everything around. So Curly definitely went into detail there. And admittedly, this one I know because I worked at the company for, but I find that they do really good stuff. Cognigy is a vendor as well, but they've got design courses on their products. But what is really interesting, also a project management course, which I worked with the team on creating that one. That was an interesting one. So especially for kind of everybody, but especially product managers and people that need to execute, make them happen. That's a really good one to have. And Chatbot Studio I found as well. That's a Ukrainian company. They have also a chatbot development methodology course. And then two more things, because we're really going tight into it. There's the Women in Voice Accelerator, Career Accelerator, is really something to recommend to all women, obviously as a participant in there. It looks awesome. If it would be a woman, I definitely would look into it and join the one. Looks fantastic. A really cool career accelerator in that space. And last but not least, because everybody might not be inspired to move into a space, there's a few job-specific boards. The Women in Voice, sorry, I'll highlight it and put it quickly in here as well, has one. It's currently a little bit empty, but I think that will fill up soon. Hillary has her own job board as well, and Conversation Design was good, had a number of listings. CDI had a number of listings. Martin Redzone's is botjobs.com, number of listings. So they're definitely jobs by Paul. And with that, that's it. And last one, obviously, keep yourself informed. Please join both of our groups. That's the Women in Voice, and that is the Chatbot and Virtual Agent Meetup group. Both of them, just join the group in there directly, become a member, and you get updates on when the next kind of sessions are coming in as well. I'll post it in there. I will quickly stop the share. Give me 1 sec. I need to quickly get the details of all participants. And we've got them in 1 second. Got a nice, cool drawing kind of thing here. Here a sec. I hope I've got the right one open. Just need to find the right thing here.
Or do you want to keep recording for the results? To keep it for history?
Yes, yes, yes. So I will record. I will share my screen again.
We can actually see it marginally in the background of the mirror.
Yes. Now you can see it all. Now everyone can see it. So the big moment is coming for the CDI course. And who do we have?
Drum roll.
Hey, Samaya.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
I know her. So, well, so that's really cool. Well, I will have your details anyway. So thank you very much. With that, to be honest, it was a speed at the end because we were rushing to make everything happen. I really want to say thank you to everybody who joined. Really appreciate it. I hope you absolutely liked it. Leave some nice words in the comment. We normally stay on for a few more minutes. So if you've got any more questions, ask them now. Go unmute. We normally stop the recording now, and you can unmute and can ask questions that you want to.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. So let me stop recording. That's end of our official part. Thank you.